Yo, what's up everybody? It's Three Wheel Khalil, and as you can tell, I'm not on my Ryker today. I'm actually on my 2019 Honda Monkey. And you guys don't have to worry, I'm not switching camps. I'm not about to just become a two-wheel riding channel, but I did want to talk about something that I find pretty interesting, and that's the transition from riding three wheels to two wheels, or the transition from riding two wheels to three wheels. Once I started the channel and started putting a whole bunch of hours into riding, I kind of had this urge to learn more about two-wheel motorcycling. Having this channel, we're almost at 2,000 subscribers. It just felt like doing so much content talking about motorcycles, it was only right that I had a decent amount of experience in both, so I could speak to both more comfortably and have a better understanding. So by no means am I an expert, but I am fully trained and fully licensed to ride a two-wheel motorcycle, and just kind of went through that journey throughout last year on the low, on the quiet. If you follow me on Instagram, which this is a shameless plug, go over there, follow me on Instagram at 3wheelkhalil. You can see kind of when I picked up the Monkey and that I've been riding and having fun and enjoying that. And I definitely recommend it to somebody who wants a secondary little toy to go along with your Big Mac Daddy, Ryker, Spyder F3, or what have you. So this video is about that transition between riding on two to riding on three, and vice versa. Stick with me. So I'll give you a little bit about my bike. This is a 2019 Honda Monkey. As I said, this one is in the banana yellow. They only made the banana yellow in the US in 2019. The subsequent years, this color was not available. There's some other decent colors, but none as iconic in my opinion as the banana yellow. You can still get this color overseas, but in the US, for some reason, North America, you cannot get the banana yellow. So I really enjoy this bike. It's kind of based off of some old school, the older Honda Monkey bikes with a little bit more of the new school styling added, and I've made some tweaks over the maybe 6 or 7 months that I've had the bike. Anyway, that's not what the video is really about. The video is more about the experience of switching between a two-wheel and a three-wheeled motorcycle. So let's get into it. Now, the thing that is most apparent to me immediately when I switch between my Ryker and my Monkey is the transmission. Now, when you're coming from a three-wheeled motorcycle, especially of the Can-Am variety, you're most likely dealing with an automatic or a semi-automatic transmission. In the case of the Ryker, you're dealing with the automatic CVT transmission, and in the case of a Spyder F3 or RT or something of that nature, you're going to be dealing with the semi-automatic transmission. Now, you can get a Spyder in a manual configuration, only the Spyder, not the Ryker, but it is not what I would say is the most common variant that you're going to see out in the wild. I would say it's much more common to see the semi-automatic transmission, meaning that you manually shift up through the gears, but you do not manually downshift on those Spyders. Now, I'd say the vast majority of motorcycles are the opposite, and the vast majority of motorcycles you're going to be dealing with a manual transmission, full-on clutch and full-on gear shifter at the foot, and it's just a big difference when you're getting used to it. Now, coming from one to the other, I would say if you're coming from two-wheel motorcycling to three-wheel motorcycling, it's not going to be the hardest transition there. I mean, you're going to be used to shifting gears, but not shifting gears is not necessarily going to throw you for the biggest loop in the world. It's just a twist and go. It's pretty easy to adapt when you understand how to shift a manual transmission on a motorcycle and just don't need to, versus the opposite, which is learning on a three-wheel motorcycle and not knowing how to shift through gears, especially when you're dealing with the automatic or the semi-automatic. just because usually the semi-automatic as well, you're not shifting in the same way that you would on a traditional motorcycle, which is involving the clutch. You're more shifting like you would in a Tiptronic car or something, where you're just kind of switching through the gears via like a paddle shifter or something like that. So something to definitely consider. It takes a while to get used to. I know when I was learning throughout the process, I definitely was stalling out a lot, and I did hundreds of little laps in my neighborhood to get comfortable with the bike that I'm riding. And it's definitely something that you will need to focus on if that's the direction you're going. In the opposite direction, I think it's something that you'll get used to pretty dang quickly. Along the same lines as that clutch lever, if you look to the right side, you'll see the brake lever, which is obviously non-existent on Can-Am motorcycles. Now, when we're talking about a Can-Am, you have one foot brake that controls all three wheels on those three-wheeled motorcycles. Whereas on a two-wheeled motorcycle, you are going to have a brake lever, which controls the front brake, and a foot brake that controls the back brake on the right side. So that's a huge difference, because obviously on the three-wheeled motorcycle, on a Can-Am, when you press that one brake, it applies the brake to all the wheels evenly. Whereas on a two-wheeled motorcycle, you need to apply the brake to the front wheel and the rear wheel evenly. Take your time, distribute that braking force properly, or you could get yourself in a sticky situation and cause yourself to lose traction and dump the bike if you're not paying attention to how you are applying the brakes. Also juggling that with downshifting and kind of being in the right gear to come to a stop or slow down enough to be able to pick your speed back up when the lights change. So that's a huge difference, but at the same time, it kind of follows the same pattern, that it is a lot easier for a two-wheel rider to come in and learn this system than the opposite way. However, I will say I've seen people who know how to ride two wheels come into riding a Ryker and not take that time to get familiar with braking and test themselves and do quick brake kind of light scenarios before they go out on the road. And when they panic, they don't immediately go for the foot brake, they reach for their handbrake, and because of that, they're not braking as effectively, because normally they're used to reaching for the handbrake and reaching for the back brake kind of evenly and slowly, when on the Ryker, that's not what you would need to do. On the Spyder, that's not what you would need to do. So it's something that you definitely have to consider. Keep in mind that if you are someone who has physical need for a handbrake, you can get one fitted. There are some different shops that I've seen that do that for accessibility. So if that is something you need, it is possible to get that fitted to a Ryker or a Spyder. So don't let that stop you from getting out and riding three wheels. No, obviously, one of the largest differences between two and three wheels is going to be maneuverability. Now, when you're maneuvering on a two-wheel motorcycle, you're going to be leaning the bike, basically pushing the handlebars down to the left or right when you want to make a turn, leaning with your body into turns, accelerating out but of turns while staying lean to kind of keep and maintain balance throughout a curve. So it's a lot more about balance on the bike than a three-wheel motorcycle is. Now, again, that traction control system on a three-wheel motorcycle is so important, and it is so advanced, far more advanced than what you're going to see on most two-wheeled motorcycles. However, that is not necessarily what you would be looking for on a two-wheel motorcycle, because you kind of don't want it to intervene too much, because again, you're the vessel there. So your body lean, how you maneuver the bike, it kind of becomes one with you. So some people don't enjoy the feeling as much depending on the bike that you ride. I personally think that the Ryker, that stripped down feel, feels the closest to riding a two-wheeled motorcycle than any of the other Can-Am models do, just because you do feel much more like you were riding with the bike, and it kind of becomes an extension of you rather than you riding on top of the bike that I do feel with some of the bigger bikes. But that's just me and in my experiences. But that raw feel, that lower seat position, I do find myself kind of not leaning, but the way that you position your body on the bike when you're making turns and kind of leaning your body into turns, but maybe the upper half of your body into the turn, the bottom half of your body kind of shifting that on the outside of the turn and sticking with it. That's the cornering feel that I love about riding a Ryker, and I feel like you have much more control of that because the bike is a little lighter, it's more nimble, and so that feels more like that two-wheel experience. But it is still a different experience, especially a light bike like this Monkey that I'm riding. Flicking around is absolutely nothing. You just kind of push the handlebar just down a little bit and the bike's going to go right, left. You pull your knees in and just kind of lean your hips left, right. The bike is going to go left, right. So it is a different experience in that way because the three-wheel motorcycles are much more planted, much more solid, and you are steering them much more than you are flicking them like you would with a lot of motorcycles. This is probably one of the more obvious differences, but I thought it was worth mentioning, is that maintenance and parts are oftentimes going to be a little bit different. If you're used to working on chains and sprockets with motorcycles, you may be a little confused depending on what type of bike you're riding. I know specifically with the Ryker that I ride, we're talking about a belt-driven system. I know with Spyders also there's a shaft drive component. So again, it's a little bit different of a system. So if you're coming from one to the other, you'll definitely be able to figure it out if you do your research and maybe buy yourself a shop manual or something like that. But at the same time, it is different enough that you're not just going to be able to go buy a two-wheel motorcycle after coming from a Ryker and just work on it if you've never worked on the other one. And the same goes for a three-wheel motorcycle. If you're coming from two wheels and you buy a Ryker or a Spyder, you're not just going to be able to just pull it in your garage and start working on it immediately without any sort of other knowledge. Or maybe you can because you're like super mechanically inclined, and I know people like that who could tear something down without looking at them, and more power to them, but that ain't me. So for me, we'll take a little bit of research, a little bit of knowledge that you'll need to learn the other platform. And last but certainly absolutely not least is positioning and visibility when riding a motorcycle. Now, when riding a Can-Am, a three-wheeler, not only do you have a lot of presence due to how wide your vehicle is, you also are driving something that looks so different than what people normally see that you often find yourself being stared at. You catch people's attention very quickly. It's very rare to me that I'm riding and people don't notice that I'm riding next to them. So that works to our advantage in a way. You should always ride defensively and always ride like you're invisible, in the sense that no one can see you, and present yourself and make yourself known that you are there so that you can try and avoid accidents and stuff like that. But it is much more important on a two-wheel motorcycle. I can't tell you the amount of times that I am clearly visible in plain sight, riding in proper position on the kind of outside of the lane, coming into a turn or something, and people just, for some reason in their scanning, you just don't appear as a motorcycle. Especially I'm on a smaller motorcycle, so that can be dangerous and one of the bigger downsides, I'd say, of driving a two-wheeled motorcycle. Now, obviously, you have the same amount of protection on one versus the other. You are completely exposed to the elements, but you are definitely much more visible on a three-wheel motorcycle, especially a Can-Am Ryker Spyder, just because their looks are just so out there that people are immediately captivated. People want to ask you questions. People, you know, it's just something that you don't see every 5 seconds, and therefore when you pass someone, people normally recognize it. Whereas motorcycles, they've become a little bit more commonplace, a two-wheel motorcycle, so people may just kind of gloss over you when they're scanning, and unfortunately people are texting and driving and doing all of that nonsense. So it's just really imperative to present yourself well on the road, make sure that you're in the correct lane position, make sure you're avoiding you know, potholes that could set you off balance, avoiding slick like oil spots in the middle of the road, either riding in the first or the third position most of the time. That's a big difference from riding a Ryker, because obviously we are too wide to ride in one of these left shoulder, right shoulder type positions. We usually are just in the middle of the lane like a car. If it rains, usually it's not a big deal. Even just after it rained, that's oil that can be brought up. As long as you're not just wailing on the throttle, you're going to keep traction. We've got advanced traction control systems. That's, again, not always the case with a two-wheel motorcycle. You have to be a lot more careful in those senses. So just something to chew on there, but definitely that's one of my favorite things about being on a three-wheeled machine is, again, you're just much more visible. You take up much more of the lane, and that physical presence to me has translated to a little bit more safety when riding. Anyway, y'all, I hope that has been in some way helpful to you. Whether you were thinking about making that leap from two-wheel motorcycling to three-wheel motorcycling or vice versa, I hope you remember that they all accomplish the same goal, which is getting us out onto these beautiful roads and being open to adventure and enjoying our lives just a little bit more. And while life is more fun on three wheels, two wheels ain't that bad either. And I really hope this video kind of helps bridge that gap a little bit for anybody who's trying to decide what they want to do. I have chosen a contest winner from 2 videos ago, so that winner's name will be down in the description below. Go ahead, check if you won. If you did, you probably have heard from me at this point. If not, go ahead, send me a message. You can find me on Instagram, you can find me on here, but I will be reaching out to you soon so I can get you your quad lock phone case. We're coming up to 2,000 subscribers in a little bit, so maybe we'll see another giveaway in the near future. Anyway, guys, remember, life is more fun on 3 wheels, and please, please, please go check out the new video that I released with Can-Am on their channel, talking about the essential things that you want to bring with you on any given ride. It's been honestly an honor, a pleasure to work with Can-Am as one of their 2021 brand ambassadors. That doesn't change much on this channel here. I will still be giving my honest opinion on things about Can-Am, getting to ride different things, doing my own video content and all that good stuff, but it just has been an honor and a privilege to work with the great team over there, and I look forward to doing that throughout 2021. So thank you guys for being such an awesome community. Sorry for rambling, but I really do enjoy what we've built here. So let's do it, ride safe, and I'll catch y'all soon. Peace.